Hello, guys, and welcome back to Sarcastic Remarks, the greatest show on earth. Because Chris is not here, so it's the greatest show on the earth. No, I'm just kidding, Chris. We love
That's
you.
rude. That's rude, right? Right after
Alongside,
he gets married, too.
I know I gotta pick on him somehow. He's not here. Alongside my brother James, my name is Ryan. Welcome to the greatest show on earth. Like I said, thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for being our sponsor of this episode. Go and use that promo code THPN the next time you go and use their services. The Dallas Stars do win in overtime tonight. I don't care that it took overtime. They got the 2 points. That's all that matters. Final score 4-3 over Maddie Beniers in the Seattle Kraken, who are facing a lot of injuries and lost 2 people tonight. The Seattle Kraken did. So, initial thoughts from tonight's game, James. What's your first thought?
I mean, the Kraken are not the same team that we knew last year. This team is, they look rough. I mean, granted, the Stars didn't look much better, but we scored on our chances more often than they did, and that's kind of how it went, honestly.
I was really frustrated with tonight's game with a couple of things, and we'll get into those. But my initial thought from tonight's game, especially, is from the third period. Specifically, the third period, the Stars did not play very well. And now I understand part of it was they were making stupid ticky-tacky calls, the refs were. But when you get the amount of chances that the Stars get and your power play is as good as it's been the last 2.5 months, 2 months, whatever, you need to get another goal to put it out of reach. And they didn't do that in the third period. And that's the most frustrating thing for me tonight, is they did not take care of business when they were given those power plays.
Yeah, and it was really strange, too, because, we scored on the 6-on-5. You're like, oh, okay, more space, and that'll be great. And a lot of the time it was just like nothing the whole time, or we would just pass ourselves into oblivion and not get anything.
The thing that really worries me especially is this is not a one-game thing. This happened in the last game on Saturday. And, if it's one thing, it's a fluke. If it's two things, it might be something. If it's three, it's a problem. If it's 4 games, then you've got yourself a shift in play. And I'm hoping I'm not thinking what I'm thinking right now is going to come true, because this power play, the last 2 games, is what it looked like at the very beginning of the season, before the Minnesota game when the Stars exploded and went 4 for 5.
Yeah, and that same power play also had a stretch where they had almost 50% of the goals go in. So this is not new from the Stars. This happened all last year too. So I would be worried if I didn't know how streaky our power play was. It happened all season last year, and it's going to happen again this year. We're going to go on streaks where we score almost every single one, and we're going to go on streaks where we just can't seem to get one to save our lives. And unfortunately, that means that we're going to have to get even strength goals or shorthanded goals and some really good goaltending. But fortunately for tonight, that's what we got.
Well, before we get into the goaltending tonight, which we definitely need to discuss this evening, I'm really not sure what's going on with the power play specifically, but it seems like they are just bound and determined to shoot it from the point and just use it from the point. And and obviously that hasn't worked in the last couple of games.
I don't think that's true at all, though, Ryan. We had multiple times with Sagan and Duchesne and Marchment. They were trying to pass into the circle, and we couldn't get it in there. And that's one reason why I kind of liked we put Harley on for 30 seconds of one of them. Harley has a bomb from the point, and he tends to get those through pretty regularly. So that's a good adjustment. It's just felt like it was a little later than I would have hoped for. But it was, I really think we just passed ourselves out of opportunities tonight. I think we had ended the night with 2 power play shots, and we had 4 of them. So that is not good enough. You, especially on a backup goaltender as well, because they don't have their starter either. Just fire that at him. He's going to give up rebounds. You're going to get your chances.
Well, Joey Decord is a very capable goaltender, though, in my opinion. He's very
And so is Scott Wedgwood. But at the same time,
I agree.
Both of them, both sides, both him and Wedgwood had a lot of rebounds tonight. That's just those are how those goaltenders are typically, and it's a matter of cleaning up in the slot or executing when they give one of those up.
All right, so they caught overpassitis. Is basically what we're giving it up to.
I really think that's what happened tonight.
Looking for the perfect pass instead of just taking a shot. Okay, so we'll chalk it up to that. I think I agree with you. I don't think they overpassitis, but I think they just need to shoot more. I mean, what have we been telling Robo? Shoot more. I think we just need more shots on the power play, and even if it hits, I mean, obviously we want it to get through the first blocker, but even at this point, I mean, just look for the awkward bounce, man. I mean, it's the last two games it has not looked good.
We saw it over the past like 4 weeks where the other team is just randomly firing at the net. It goes off of one of our players and straight back to him, and they have a wide open net to shoot that. I mean, the puck is made of rubber. It bounces weird. You're gonna get lucky if you shoot it.
Eventually, you'll get lucky if you shoot it. That is true. All right, so let's move on to goaltending. We very briefly mentioned it. Segue into that. So obviously, we get the news that Jake Ottinger is week to week, which is, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, however you want to, whether it's good news or bad news. I think it's just news. It could have been worse, could have been better, but he is out week to week with his lower body injury. We obviously know it was lower body based off of what we saw. And strictly what we saw tonight from Wedgwood was another excellent performance. I mean, the guy is really stepping up when we absolutely need him to, and he allows 3 goals again tonight because it has to be 3 goals when Wedgwood is in net for some reason. I don't know why, but it just feels like that. And I honestly thought for a second that he was gonna finally keep it down under 2, but he gives the Stars another excellent effort tonight, and starting to look like a starter in the net, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he could have had a shutout tonight, honestly. I mean, they score off of 2 odd man rushes. The first one's just we didn't get back. The second one, Suter runs into someone who is staring at him and knows that Suter is coming, which I kind of think is interference, but whatever. They get a 2-on-1 off of it. That's the second one they score off of. And then the third one is a freak bounce that goes off of him, off the post, off of a Seattle defenseman, drops, and then we try to slap it right back to a Seattle person and banks it in an empty net. So, like, those are the 3 goals you're looking at. You're like, I mean, he stopped everything else.
Okay, so you kind of briefly mentioned it, but I got one question before we talk about the last goal that Seattle scored. Do you feel the Stars are getting a little bit unlucky with these bounces when it comes to opponents scoring on their own net? It really feels right now that the Stars are just not getting any lucky bounces when it comes to those sort of things. Just a feeling, not just an eye test, not a. I have no stats to back this up right now.
I would have agreed with you if you said it 3 games ago. I think the past 3 games, there have been lucky bounces against us, but we've also gotten lucky bounces back the other way. And so like, yes, a little unlucky, but they're bouncing both ways now, whereas before I felt like they weren't.
Okay, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is the Duchesne goal where he passed it in front and it banked off of one of the opposing players' sticks, I think is what it was.
I think of
what else are you thinking?
I think of the Harley pseudo breakaway that he had where he shot it hit the goaltender, fell straight down, and he just shoved it through. I mean, that can be considered kind of a lucky bounce too. It hits the goaltender, drops straight down where his 5-hole is, and you shank it under. I mean, if it's on the other side, I feel like that's pretty lucky and just bad rebound control.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think it. that's like 50% lucky. If that makes sense. Like some of these other goals I'm seeing, our opponents score, I feel are like so stinking lucky, and I'm just like, really that bounce happens like that, or it happens to go in. It feels like we have started games lately so stinking well. I mean, like for example, it was the last
Last two
game.
games. Yeah,
The last
last
two
two
games
games
we've played well,
we
and
started
then
2-0.
and then it's just gone to crap. So I don't know.
I
It's just a
I
feeling.
I really didn't feel that way tonight. I think the last goal is a product of Seattle shooting 38 times, which good night. That's a lot of shots. And then it's also a product of I think the Sagan line was really trying to get Duchesne the empty net hat trick. And I feel like they didn't prioritize getting it out of the zone, and that burned them bad, because you get that out of the zone and you set back up, you're perfectly fine. I mean, and we turned it back over in our own zone, and we were scrambling, and that's how it gets like that. And stuff happens when you're out of position. I mean, there was 4 Seattle players in front of our net versus 2 of our own. So
It is what
that's
it
poor
is.
positioning.
All right, so let's get to the last Seattle goal, which my goodness took forever to review. I was just like, let's just get on with this, guys.
It,
Come on.
it, I was so sure it
What's your
was a
take?
goal. I was so sure it was a goal. I was playing games on my phone during the entire time. It's like, oh, we're going to overtime. I'm just gonna kill some time, you know. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. They said that
It,
they were reviewing for like offsides or something.
it
They
wasn't
never
even
even showed
close.
that on
It
the
like it
TV.
was
It's like, I don't know. I think it was
yeah,
a goal. I don't know.
okay, now here's the other thing. Here's the other funny thing that I've heard a lot of other podcasts talk about, right? Okay. So you're trying to get the call right, right? So you have a really controversial play that may or may not decide a game, right? Like this play in particular. Instead of looking at the giant jumbotron that is literally like above their heads, that they could just easily go, oh, ah. They're looking at these tiny little iPads down on on the other side of the ice, across from the benches.
So
I don't get that.
the reason for that is that the NHL has cameras on the blue line, like right on the
That we
blue
don't
line,
see. Yes.
that a lot of stadiums do not all have, and the broadcasts don't all have connection to them either. And if you're looking at only the overhead, home arenas are going to play the angle that looks best for them. That's just
That's
how it
true.
is.
Guilty.
So
There's some truth to that.
you look at the video that the NHL says that this is what it was, and I don't think that's a problem. Also, I mean, like, you take perspective of like the jumbotron above you, and you hold the iPad up to that, and the iPad's probably bigger. So
I don't
let's be
know, man.
honest. Come
I
on,
don't know. Okay.
some stadiums maybe, but like,
Here's Shippy, the DJ for the Dallas Stars for American Airlines Center. They were playing Blame Canada for that review. I love it. I love Shippy. He does so well with a lot of the stuff that he does. He's so awesome. Okay, we've gotten this far without actually talking about the true MVP of this game and probably of the last 5 games, and that's Matt Duchene. He gets 2 goals here tonight. He sets up Harley for the game winner in overtime. Sing the praises of Matt Duchene for a second, James.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can't say that hasn't already been said. But really, the biggest thing to me is that he's been a springboard for both Marchment and Sagan. I mean, all 3 of them are all on top of the scoring with our normal top line as well. I mean, there's 6 players who are all sitting there at the top of the points chart for us, and there's no weird gaps that most teams get. It's to the point where like I'm looking at our roster, I'm like, how do we not have like 530 goal scorers by the end of this season? You know, like, that's how crazy it looks.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is the depth of the Dallas Stars, especially when it comes to forward and when it comes to points, is extremely balanced. It is very balanced considering what we've seen. from this team. And I mean, it all boils down to honestly Matt Duchene, because the Johnston line hasn't been clicking as much as they were last year, which is okay because you got the Matt Duchene line that has been clicking like crazy. And then even the top line is not as dominant as it was last year. But again, when you've got the depth from all of these other guys are scoring. I mean, when you look at just the statistics for the Stars overall, it's great. I mean, the overall, when you look at their points, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 guys with 20 or plus, 20 or more points. And then you've got Johnson, who is just under that with 19. And then you've got, like, I mean, you've started to see some guys like Harley and Lindell who are really starting to put up points on the defensive side. So it just goes to show you that these guys are really starting to do a heck of a lot better when it comes to those things. Love to see the depth of the Dallas Stars right now.
Yeah, and really the thing that's bigger than the points is like you look at the goals. All the goals are spread out too. Like there's not one player on the team who's scoring way more goals. I mean, Pavelski has 13, and then there's 4 people with 10. So that's kind of ridiculous. Like we're having what St. Louis had a couple years back where they had like 5 or 6 20 goal scorers. I mean, we're going to have at least 4. At
They
least
had
4. They
they
had
had
7 or
9.
something.
They had
Oh,
9.
whatever. It doesn't matter. We're almost on pace for that. I'm not even joking. I mean, Evgeny Dodonov has 7, and then there's 8 other people above him who have more than that. So
And one of those
Jamie
is a
Benn isn't even
defenseman.
in that. Jamie
Yeah, I
Benn
know.
isn't in that. He has only scored 5 goals. That's not gonna stay like that. He's gonna score more goals.
That is the crazy thing, is to consider. I mean, Ben has 5, Dodonov has 7, Harley has 8, Johnson, Sagan have 9, Marchment, Hintz, Duchesne, and Robertson have 10. Pavelski, the 39-year-old, is the one leading the Stars in goals with 13.
And
That's kind of
points.
crazy. That is absolutely crazy to consider all the depth that that this team has. So, but just getting back to Duchesne, because we kind of segued a little bit too much off of
But
that.
like
But
this is because of him. There's 2 more players in our top 6 points that are only there because he is on the team.
right. And you know what's funny is I didn't even realize that he hadn't scored a goal in 11 games. Like he went 11 games without a goal because he was still producing offensively.
Yeah, which by
He
the
was still
way,
getting points.
that is his longest goal drought since like I think his rookie season.
I mean, like, so like, I mean, I didn't care. I mean, I know we were frustrated with Robertson, especially last year when he started off that ridiculous pace. It was like 20 goals in like 25 games or 30 games or whatever, and he significantly slowed down after that. But we don't expect that from Duchesne because he's a second line center. But still, I mean, him and Ben, who hasn't been scoring goals, they've still been producing offensively. They've still been getting assists. Same thing with Robertson, who's not scoring at the same pace he was last year, but he's still, I think he's leading the Stars in assists, isn't he?
He's 1 point behind Pavelski.
Okay.
Or no, assist, he has the lead in assist, but
exactly. So
in points, he's 1 point behind Pavelski. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and people are talking about the fact that, like, oh, that's terrible, and he's not the same player he was last year. It doesn't matter because we've got the depth of all these guys who are scoring goals. We don't need one person to be scoring 40, 50 goals like he did last year. If he scores 30 and has all these assists, and there's 4 other guys that score 30 goals, shoot, who cares? It's all about the team at that point, just getting it going. So,
and realistically, like Robertson is going to come back out at some point and start scoring goals again.
Yes, I think
he scored one tonight too. That like literally like 4 weeks ago. That's not going in. It's never going in.
Yes, agreed.
It just isn't.
I really want to talk about the reaction by the Stars when Yanni Gourde ran over Wedgwood. I love the reaction from the Stars on that. I wish they would be a little bit more nasty. Sometimes when things like that happen, you don't really see them do stuff like that when there's like a cheap shot, like who was it it was against the Senators. I think it was Kachuk who had that late hit on Miro.
There were
And
so
then,
many bad hits in that game. I don't even want to
yeah,
talk about it.
but
That's the fourth worst team in the league, and they're throwing the most dirty hits in the league, I think.
yeah, but well, that's beside the point. The point for me is I would like the Stars to be a little bit more nasty when we see stuff like that. And we've got guys who can be nasty. Like the top two guys that kind of stick it into my brain a little bit are Ben and Marchment. I would like, and now I know they're not going to be on the ice when, Robertson is out there or whatever, but I would still like them to be just a little bit more nastier on plays like that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I feel I was really frustrated with. There was a lot of contact with Wedgwood tonight. It wasn't just that one play. They were bumping him a lot tonight, and I felt like we were letting them get away with a lot of that. So, and it is nice to see the response. It's nice for me because normally we wouldn't have any of that. So any amount of response that I'm getting right now, I'm happy with. So
Mm,
I
fair enough.
I don't know how better to look at it. This Stars team is not physical. They're one of the least hitting teams in the league. You're just not going to see that often. And the fact that they're sticking up for Wedgwood at all is a good thing in my eyes. What I think they did fine. I don't think they needed to be any more nasty. I think maybe they needed to be nasty earlier when they bumped them a little more. And then that penalty wouldn't have happened at all because they wouldn't have been driving the net that hard. But whatever.
Now, the other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to Wedgwood is that scary incident that happened. Was it in the second period or was it early in the first?
It's early in the first.
Early in the first. Wedgwood appears to take a puck up high, and it crumples him. And James, you sent us a text, and I quote, "Kerpay."
Kerpay.
Eh,
I was typing so fast.
Crap.
And then in the
So,
Discord, I typed I pooped myself a little.
oh, let's just say that I saw our season flash before my eyes when that happened. And
I
it's
really
no
thought
offense. It is absolutely no offense to Matt Murray and to Remy Poirier. It's like I
it's kind of a
don't
little
mean
offense.
anything by it, but like they are not ready to
No.
be starting net in either one of them to be starting netminders in the NHL.
There's a
I
reason
just no.
why there's a reason why they're in the AHL.
And they're gonna be. I think both of them could be very good. They've both got decent potential, and they've shown flashes in the pan in the AHL, like both of them. Seriously, but it is so much faster at the NHL level that if we get to the point where we're relying on those two, we're just trying to stay 500 until one of the two of Wedgwood or Otter come back and hope that they can save our season. So
Yeah, pretty much.
that's something that I held my breath there for a little bit until Wedgwood got back up.
I was terrified.
Yes, I was beyond terrified when it got to that point. So, anyways, what are some other things from tonight's game that I'm thinking that I'm not mentioning that we should mention? Anything?
Other than specific like plays or players, no, not really.
Okay. Well, let's get into biggest winner, biggest loser, and then we'll think about some of those players. Okay, let's start with our biggest loser tonight. Who's your biggest loser tonight, James?
Yanni Hakanpää, dude, if he doesn't whiff on that stupid play, the game is completely under control. I mean, we had the Seattle Kraken under our thumb that entire second period, and then he just whiffs on it, and it got scary from there and never got back. So you can't do that, man. Like he's not even skating fast. He's not fast enough to skate past the puck. Okay, he just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes to the other side too, and you gotta take one person out of the play, and he just does it. It all went wrong. I saw that happen, and I knew it was in the back of our net. That's basically where it was.
That's how I felt about the breakaway on Saturday in the Blues game. That's exactly how I felt. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
it was the
it's going in
exact
the back of
same
our net.
feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling I used to have back in 2015-16 when we had Kari Lettinen and Antti Niemi as our goalies. It's an odd man rush the other way. Oh, it's in the back of our net. I just immediately knew.
That was one thing that I will say we did well tonight. We only gave up like 3 or 4 odd man rushes, and they scored on 2 of them. So,
Okay.
I mean, Seattle was giving them up all night, and we should have scored on more than 2 of them, which is a little annoying. But we scored on like our first 2. So, what are you gonna do?
My biggest loser tonight, as I try not to yawn, is the Stars' inability to hold on to a 2-goal lead. That has been an issue for 3 weeks
Ryan,
now.
It
3
is not
weeks.
just the Stars. Have you heard the stat that there's like 59 games where teams have blown a 2-goal lead? This season is on track for being the most blown leads ever
in NHL history. I know,
like
but
that.
I don't.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
it's not
but
just
you know
the
what?
Stars. It's every other good team in the league. I mean, you've seen the Golden Knights do it against the Sharks. You've seen Edmonton do it multiple times over. The Sharks have come back on multiple teams over, and we thought the Sharks were going to be the worst team in NHL history at the beginning of the season.
And then I think the Red Wings were up 5-0, I think, right, at one point,
and the Sharks came back and won. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you see
it was 6-5.
That didn't even happen. That happened twice this year already. The Blue Jackets were up 5-0 on the Leafs, and the Leafs came back. They lost
Columbus
that game,
still
but
won.
They still came back.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, that this is a different NHL and like 2-goal leads are not safe anymore.
It's not just a different NHL. This year is being weird.
But you know what? I'm just gonna say that to this. I don't care.
I know you don't care, Ryan, but you should. It's fun.
You have to hold on to your leads. Don't be those other teams in the NHL that are blowing 2-goal leads.
They won. So
yeah, but it took overtime and you gave a point to the Kraken. You don't want to play the Kraken in the playoffs.
But we don't care about giving a point to the Kraken. You know, we don't care who's getting in the playoffs with us because we're gonna beat all of them anyway.
Well, sure, you say that. I don't know.
I say it and I mean it. We're gonna beat everyone in the playoffs.
Okay, if you say so,
including ourselves.
You heard. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah. Clip this now, everyone. Clip this now and keep it there. Who's your biggest winner for tonight, James?
Matt Duchene. Wedgwood was great. Matt Duchene did everything for us tonight. I mean, 2 goals and an assist. Like I said, I really think that line kind of muffed it in the 6-on-5 because they wanted to get him the hat trick. But I mean, he makes up for it in overtime anyway. Gives perfect pass over to Harley, just tap it in.
I'm gonna give it to two players because I sang the praises of Wedgwood already in this episode, but I'm gonna sing the praises of 2 people in particular. My first one is Joe Pavelski. The guy, I say it every single freaking time. He is 39 years old, and he is leading the Stars in points. He is leading the Stars in goals. Did I mention he's 39? Did I mention he's taken a pay cut every single year for the past 2 years in order to make sure that the Stars can be super effective in the way that they have their attack? Because he took a pay cut the last 2 years, they've been able to have Max Domi and then this year Matt Duchene. And he's still leading the team in points. Like he is completely defying the aging process. And I understand that he's playing with 2 really good players in Robertson and Hintz. But you could take numerous other players and throw them on that line as well, and they would be good, but they still would not be as good as Joe Pavelski on that line because of the freaking hockey IQ that man has. It's absolutely ridiculous what he can do. And he along with Matt Duchene right now, because of his leadership and his ability to still get points and be 39 years old, the two of those guys are my MVPs for the season right now. They really are, though, especially
Without a
right now.
doubt. Without a doubt. And I mean, Pavelski is amazing, and he works because he's played with these two players for long enough now too. I mean, you saw the first season he was here. I mean, he didn't look great, and then we finally kind of had him settle into a role, and now he's been in that role the entire time, and he's only gotten better in it, which is insane when you're talking about someone who biologically is losing strength. Like,
and doesn't have the same
that's how it
speed he
works.
has.
No, he can't skate as fast as all. I mean, he's probably slower than
And he's
Ryan
still
Suter,
defensive.
and he's
He's
still
one of our best defensive players, and yet
Mhm,
he's in the right spot every single time. Every
mhm.
single time he makes perfect passes. He is great defensively. I mean, he is the most complete player, and he's 39.
Alone, he wouldn't work. With a line where he has rope hints, he works.
Yes,
That's
agreed.
really what I feel it is, and
And
that's why it works so well.
remember that this guy only got on a line with those two because at the time, those were the only three that had any offense going for them. This was back in the bonus era. You remember that? He was just like, all three of these guys are the only ones getting points. Let's throw them together, see what happens. Magic. 4 years later, still together. My second one is, I got to give it to two more, but I'm not going to spend as much time on these two because we got to wrap it up. First off, Thomas Harley gets the game-winning goal tonight in overtime. He has been excellent lately, and he is the number 2 defenseman for the Dallas Stars. I've been mentioning that the last 2 episodes as well. We need to see some shakeup in the defenseman, and he needs to be playing up there with Miro Heiskanen. Hopefully, we can see that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see. And then the other one who got back into the lineup tonight, another defenseman, Joel Hanley. What the heck? The guy had a game tonight. That big hit, that I did not see that coming from little Joel Hanley. Well, I say little.
Yeah.
He's 5'11". He's way bigger than both of us. But still, compared to other players, that hit he laid was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, but this is where like it gets tough because if you get into a game where there's a lot of special teams, he doesn't really play because he doesn't really do those. So he only ends up with like 9 minutes of ice time. So like tough. And yes, he made a good play on a 2-on-1 and he made a big hit. But like that's all I see from him tonight. But honestly, that's more than you can say for Nils Lundqvist right now. So
It's true. Can't believe we hadn't talked about this. What do you think of the decision by Pete DeBoer to scratch the $3.25 million man?
That's fine. I think honestly, it's later in the season we're going to see it more and more, and it's just going to be purely because of conditioning. I think he wants that fourth line to play the hardest they possibly can every single night, and having a fourth person who can just hop in and plug and play like any way that you want to. We've seen every form of those 4 players on the line now, and they can all play together, and they all look the same. It works just the same. So having that extra player will hopefully, it's first of all, it's going to make them compete for a spot, which is going to make them play harder, and then they're going to be more rested too.
It's a very good point, and I think eventually we'll start seeing some of the older players in the Stars lineup. You know, maybe Jamie comes out. Maybe Jamie comes out for a game.
Really depends on how the season is going to. Like right now,
that's fair.
No, you're playing to win every single game, no matter what. Everyone's saying
playing great. Yes, Zach, giving me a hard time. 3 biggest winners. Yes, this is our podcast. We can decide what we want to do with it.
Ryan just decided the 3 stars of the game by himself.
Yeah. Who were the 3 stars of the game? Were those the 3 stars of the game?
I don't care. I bet they weren't, but
okay. All right. Anything else? I think that's it. We went a little long tonight.
Yeah, it's okay. We didn't do a Sunday night episode.
Speaking of Sunday
There
night,
was
we had a really good excuse for that. For those of you
there was
that,
something going on.
yeah, there was something really important going on. So, for those of you that have been living under a rock, if you haven't been listening to our episodes the last couple of weeks,
Which,
Chris
how
got
dare
married.
you?
Yeah, how dare you? First off, no, I'm just kidding. Chris got married yesterday. He got married, and I think he was on a flight this morning. I don't even know where he is
Yeah,
at this point, to be honest
yeah.
with you.
He
But
made it. They went to an island somewhere, you know. He made it there at like 2 in the afternoon. So they've been on a flight. They were on a flight for like 12 hours or something.
oh, geez, that's a long flight.
I don't think it was actually 12 hours, but like it's pretty close to that, though.
Well, close enough.
But they
Close
made
enough.
it,
But they
and they're
made it.
married.
Yep. Chris
That's
and
the important
Chris and his wife Ellie had a fantastic night. For those of you that didn't know, we actually did it at the Perot Museum. That was actually pretty cool.
That
I
was
I I,
cool.
I didn't know that the Perot Museum did weddings and they did use the museum as a venue. It was fantastic. It was great. So I had fun, and I hope that they're doing well. We love them both, and we're very happy for them to start their life together. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. There's been 11 of y'all who have been listening live, and there's even more of you that are listening afterwards. We thank you guys, as always, for all the support that you give us. We don't take it for granted. Never thought we'd get to this point where we're doing what we're doing, and it's just so cool. And you guys are the ones that allow us to do this. So seriously, thank you, thank you, thank you. Go and check out sarcasticremarks.com and sarcasticremarksshop.com for all the latest merch from our podcast. And as always, along with James, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side, and we hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. Chris will hopefully be back with us very soon, but we're going to have to deal with James saying the evening closing.
I apologize in advance.
Go ahead. Take us out, James.
GG, boys.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much.